Hello. We're going to cover AI Pro Plus cameras in this video. I'm going to get into some details about these new cameras. First, I'm going to cover the differences between the Pro Plus cameras and regular AI cameras here. So here I have a setup menu for Pro Plus cameras here on the left side, and on the right side, I have regular cameras with AI embedded as well. As you can see, the menu is different in the sense that there's an additional button right here called IDLA Pro, and then this one doesn't have the IDLA Pro. If you go into the old embedded AI cameras, you have your object detection, intrusion, loitering line crossing, face detection, and advanced. Under advanced, you only have threshold configurations here. So that's all you have here. If you look at the new IDLA Pro cameras, we have the same analytics, but in addition, we have the advanced. In advanced, we have metadata and attributes that we can enable, meaning that not only it can capture the object detection of a human, face, or vehicle, but can also capture attributes of that object. And then you have the motionless object filter, which is useful for scenes with minimal movement. So when these two are enabled, this will allow for A-cut monitoring and AI Pro Plus attribute search. In addition to that, there's also a live button here that you can use to configure the camera quickly without having to use an add-on plugin or using a monitor. So this is a cool feature on here. As you can see, the old generation AI cameras don't have that on there as well. We recommend installing an SD card on these. So I have an SD card on there because the metadata will be saved on the SD card on the camera. And then in addition to those metadata captures and the attributes, we also have crowd detection, abandoned object detection, remove option detection, fall detection, and advanced. So I'm kind of going to go through each one of these and how that looks like here. So whenever you activate any of these additional ones, it's going to give you a warning. Basically, it's telling you that you need to make sure that the environment for this analytic is ideal. Not every situation is appropriate for each analytic, as some analytics are much more better adapt to other environments and so forth. So for crowd detection, you just basically set up an area where you want to detect a crowd, and then you do the maximum amount of people that you want to be there before it triggers an event, and the amount of dwell time that the group of people have to be in the area. For this one, I have configured that 5 people need to be in the area for 5 seconds before an event is triggered. You can only do one zone here. Let's press OK, and we can apply the configuration from here. Then here, you have abandoned object detection. So when you enable that, it gives you that same warning, and then you can go on here. Then you can set up an area of interest, right? And then basically what this does, it takes an assessment of the scene over time. And then there's a change in that scene that it will create an alert, and that how it determines that there's an object being abandoned there. So there's an add to that scene. So if somebody left something there, it'll detect that because it'll say this is a new change, and this change has stayed there for a while. Okay. Now let's look at what actions we take with these analytics. We have the options to do alarm out, send email, remote call back, FTP upload with the image, and then record on the SD card. Okay, let's move on to remove object detection. Same thing for remove object if it gives you the same warning here. Create the region of interest zone. If there's a line that you want to undo, right-click, and it will go back to the previous line. Right-click, it will go back to the previous line. That is how that works. Once that's configured, you can set up your actions. You can also set up the ignore time if needed. If you have only wanted to do this for business hours or only nighttime hours or so forth, you can control that here. Remove object detection is the reverse of the abandoned object detection. This is detecting if something has changed in view and it's looking for something has been negatively removed. And then fall detection. Fall detection gives you the same warning. It doesn't allow you to do a region of interest. What this does, it takes a person, let's say, for instance, somebody's walking here, and if that person's size has gotten smaller significantly, it thinks that that person has fallen. Let's say, for instance, the person right here in the back is 100%, and then here at some point their size has reduced up down to 50%, meaning they're crouching down or somewhere like that. Then they'll think that that person has fallen. This is important to know because the camera must be configured in a way that it's much straight facing as opposed to being up at an angle. This analytic works best when the camera is facing as much as straight as possible. And then you have your advanced thresholds here, which allow you to reduce the amount of pulse detections. If you run this analytic, and you'll see that you're receiving a lot of false detections. You can increase this threshold to increase the reliability of the system. Here we can click on Save, and we will move on to our next topic. Okay, so here I have set up a couple of cameras with these configurations, and now we're going to look at a cut monitoring panel. I'm going to close this out so I can show you how I gained access to this panel. Go to View, go down to AE-Cut Monitoring Panel, and this will pop up the AE-Cut Monitoring Panel. The events are coming in. Events are starting to populate on this list here. From time to time, we do get a lot of traffic, and then sometimes we don't get a lot of traffic. So this list will populate as I go over this panel. Each event comes in. You'll see that it gives us some attributes information about the vehicle. Like for instance, it determined that this is a truck, this is a car, this is a person, the attribute of that person being a senior, age, the colors associated with that object. If that object has glasses, have little icons on there. Now, if you click on any of these boxes here, there's going to be two right icons on the bottom right. The first one is playback, which is just a pop-up. If you click on that, it will give you an immediate pop-up for the event. All right, and there's a couple of things that we could do here. This we can, of course, exit out of this. We can share this event, so we can forward this event to another colleague or another person in the system, fill out this information, and what it'll do is it'll forward this information to the other operator that is online at the same time. The other option is add a bookmark. So this will allow you to bookmark this event, and this event will be on the device tree on the side panel, and I'll show you where that is later. Then here you can go frame by frame and review the footage. It seems like so you go iframe to iframe. The next icon next to the pop playback is regular playback services. This one takes you to recorded services or device recording services. So here it took me to the actual event in the recorded services, which detected one of these vehicles in the back. This one will give us a better idea. Let me click on this one. And now it took me to this event for this vehicle right here. And then this works. Not just that, but you know there's other events and other cameras. And then this should take us to that event here. Now, to get an idea of the configuration of this AE-Cut pop-up, because once you have this enabled, it will pop up every single time. There is a timer that begins counting down depending on the configuration of this pop-up. Once an event has stopped, this timer is going to go off. If you look at the bottom right, there is a lock icon that shows when an event has been triggered. There's a configurations that you can do here that will allow you to control this monitor panel. Here you can apply a name. It does not have to be AE-Cut Monitor. The auto pop-up here means that it will automatically pop up. If you want it always to be on top, do that. How long do you want to stay up? If it will be, and then how long it will lock onto your screen. So you can do that in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and so forth. So right now, it's at 20 seconds by default. Also, if you click on the site placement, it will automatically place it on the right side of your ADIS center. This will give you the ability to continue receiving alerts in AE-Cut monitoring. For instance here, I'm going to pull another camera view and I can have other cameras going at the same time while AE-Cut is populating events. And if there's anything that shows up interesting, you can use the filters to further investigate the event. So if you want to filter all these results into something more specific that you're looking for, I'm going to look for a woman with the color blue on. And here I have the list of women on our office with the color blue. Let's say I want to look for a person with a hat on, and this will go through all the results and narrow it down to humans with a hat on. On the top right of each event, there is a star here that you can click. What this does is place the event in a favorite list. This list is useful to mark events of interest. If you want to clear out all these filters, just go back to the object search and click on the clear filters icon on the top right. In addition, you can go to all as well. Next, let's go through the vehicle search. Here I can search by vehicle type and color. Here I applied just a truck filter, and only trucks are being displayed. Next, I apply a filter for a car with the color black, and we get results with black cars or have black color in the trim. Next, we're going to go over face filter search. Here we have the ability to face searches only. In face searches, we have a couple of attributes we can apply a filter. One is gender, second is age, and third is hat, and fourth is glasses, and fifth is mask. On the bottom left, there is icons that display the attributes it has associated with the face. You also have the ability to do playback pop-up and playback services. Here I go through more filters, and I apply more attributes. Please consider that the less of an angle the camera has, the better it is able to pick up attributes. A camera that is too low or too high will have less than desirable results. Dory standards apply here. Last, there is an X button here. If you click on this, it will delete the cache memory in the A-cut panel. Next, we will take a look at AI Search tab. Here I grab an AI Pro Plus camera and will have the ability to do the same kind of searches that A-cut panel offers. But the difference here is that I essentially can go back in time and choose other dates to perform searches. In A-cut monitoring, you can only search for events happening in real time. The other benefit of AI search is that this search tool can be used to do object searches with AI cameras that do not have IDLA Pro. The only thing you will not be able to see is the attributes of the objects in this kind of search. Here I bring in a recorder, and it shows a list of IDLA cameras, and I can perform searches on each type of object. I can add accuracy percentages and intervals to lower my search results. Next, I'm going to go over some of the analytics of AI Pro Plus. I did not have an example of all of them, but for now I'm going to showcase some of the examples I do have. First, I'm going to show abandoned object detection and show how that looks like. Here I uncheck all of the analytics, and then I leave abandoned object detection enabled, and then I do a search without adjusting the time frames. This will list events in latest to oldest. As you can see here, we have a cleaning crew that cleans our building, and they leave their trash bin in the hallway. If you notice there's a red that generated in front of the trash can. This indicates that the analytic has determined this a new scene change, and the item has stayed there for longer than a certain period of time. Here is another example of this. The red that has is indicating that it has identified an object that is not moving. Next, I'm going to demonstrate fall detection. This analytic works best when the camera is as low as possible. Around 6 to 8 feet in height is recommended. Here, I select fall detection, and it instantly creates a list of falls that the camera has detected. The way it works is that it determines that full stance of a person, and if the person's height has abruptly reduced, then the analytic is triggered. As you can see, my height has gotten smaller, and the camera's AI engine has determined I have fallen. Such a useful tool in areas where work falls are concerned. Last two things I want to mention. One, I have created two layouts here that feature the AI Pro Plus cameras. One layout is a static layout, and the second layout is a live action pane layout, which has the ability to display live events from specific cameras. As traffic increases around the office, the live action pane will be more apparent. Second, I want to note that we have grouped the new cameras in their own camera group. Just note that one camera will be moved to the sales server. In the sales server, you'll have admin rights to the camera and make configuration. Just do not break the camera on purpose. That is it for now. Thank you for your time.